Let's get something straight. The BBC doesn't just do period drama, they weaponize it. If you think historical miniseries are all lace curtains and soft piano, you're about to have your worldview shattered. Because buried deep in the BBC archives are shows so gripping, so sharply written, and so gloriously messy, you'll wonder why you wasted so much time on the mainstream. What if the best drama is the one you've never even heard about? Stay tuned, because some of these stories are about to drop-kick your expectations straight into the past. He Knew He Was Right, 2004. Paranoia is rarely this polite. He Knew He Was Right takes everything you love and fear about Victorian society and rips it wide open, leaving the faint of heart clutching their pearls. Forget everything you've been taught about well-mannered British drama. This 4-part miniseries, adapted by Andrew Davies from Anthony Trollope's feverish novel, is a deep dive into marital suspicion, quiet madness, and the destruction of happiness one sideways glance at a time. Louis Trevelyan starts as your standard well-heeled gentleman, seemingly blessed with a loving wife and every reason to be content. But what happens when doubt gets its claws in? Instead of yelling or smashing plates, Louis goes the full British, simmering, stewing, watching every move his wife Emily makes with the desperate focus of a detective who hasn't slept in weeks. Bill Nighy is the troublemaker-in-chief, playing Colonel Osborne with the kind of roguish charm that makes you wish you could see every dinner party he ever attended. As Osborne, he's both hilarious and dangerous, a catalyst in tailored waistcoats. But this isn't a two-hander. The series moves like a gossip column on roller skates through all layers of Victorian society. You get scheming aunts, lovesick clergymen, and subplots as sharp as a tailor's needle. Anna Massey's suffocatingly proper aunt is the kind of antagonist who could make even Jane Austen sweat. What really makes this series hum is the way it walks the tightrope between comedy and tragedy. The script's got bite, the dialogue crackles, and every scene bristles with psychological tension. It's not just another husband gone mad story. It's an anatomy of how pride, suspicion, and silent assumptions can torch an entire life. Trollope doesn't get half the attention of Dickens, but after watching this, you'll be asking yourself why. There's no syrupy sentiment here, just raw, painfully real human unraveling, dressed up in velvet and starch. Andrew Davies' direction, as precise and pitiless as ever. In a world of safe, starchy costume drama, He Knew He Was Right is the show that sneaks up behind you and whispers, "What if your worst fear is true?" The Way We Live Now, 2001. If you thought historical drama couldn't be wild, scandalous, and downright savage, The Way We Live Now is here to make you eat those words. This is Victorian England gone full Wolf of Wall Street, only swap the Coke for railway shares and the yachts for Parliament back rooms. Augustus Melmotte is the engine of chaos, played with magnificent bravado by David Suchet. Melmotte is the original fake it till you make it, a financial magician who conjures respectability out of pure nerve and audacity. From the opening shot, this 4-part juggernaut shoves you into the thick of high society fraud, backroom deals, and dreams so big they swallow everyone alive. Melmotte wants acceptance more than anything, and he'll buy, bluff, or bulldoze his way to get it. But as his bubble grows, so do the enemies, scandals, and darkly comic mishaps. Suchet doesn't just play Melmotte, he devours every scene, bouncing between terrifying and strangely sympathetic. But Melmotte isn't the only one hustling. Shirley Henderson's Marie Melmotte simmers with resentment and loneliness, quietly becoming the soul of the series. Lady Carberry is out here writing fluff novels just to keep her deadbeat son Felix, played by Matthew Macfadyen, in full lovable rogue mode. Out of the gutter, there's doomed love, casual betrayal, and social climbers everywhere you look, each one convinced they can cheat fate with the right scheme or marriage. What separates this series from the crowd isn't just its boldness, it's the gleeful way it exposes the rot under all those fancy waistcoats. Andrew Davies adapts Trollope again, slicing through Victorian manners with the precision of a surgeon who's seen it all. The pacing is relentless, the tone swings from bleak to hilarious in a single cut, and no one escapes the carnage with their dignity intact. It's a mini-series that laughs at the idea of good old days, reminding you, with every double-cross and disastrous party, that the past was just as messy and merciless as the present. So next time someone tells you the BBC only makes prim, proper television, point them to The Way We Live Now. It's a masterclass in controlled chaos, and once you're on the ride, there's no getting off. Little Dorrit, 2008. If you're sick of period dramas that treat poverty like a pretty background, Little Dorrit is about to slap you with reality. Hard. Dickens didn't write for the faint-hearted, and neither did the BBC when they adapted his 900-page monster into a series so rich, so bleak, and so unexpectedly moving, it leaves most modern drama gasping for air. Before Claire Foy wore a crown, she embodied Amy Dorrit, a woman born in debtor's prison, raised in the shadow of everyone else's mistakes. The opening, you're right in the heart of Marshalsea Prison, where Amy takes care of her broken, deluded father with a strength that never needs to shout. Enter Arthur Clenham, played with perfect restraint by Matthew Macfadyen. He's the outsider, drawn to Amy's quiet dignity and to the family's secret shame that may or may not be connected to his own. As Arthur peels back layers of hidden debt, corruption, and hypocrisy, the show lays bare a world where class isn't just a matter of birth, it's a shackle on the soul. What sets Little Dorrit apart is its absolute refusal to look away from the ugly side of progress. Debt, bureaucracy, and greed don't just lurk in the background, they drive every character, every plot twist. But it's not just a misery parade. There's humor, real, weird Dickensian humor, popping up in the oddest corners. Tom Courtenay as Amy's father is both tragic and infuriating, a man so lost in fantasy he can't see his daughter's sacrifices. Every set piece, every costume, every bit of grime feels lived in. Andrew Davies's adaptation brings warmth and cynicism in equal measure, never letting one overshadow the other. It's a story about the cost of compassion in a system built to crush it. Forget any idea you have of cozy Victorian tales. Little Dorrit is raw, dense, and yes, one of the greatest Dickens adaptations the BBC has ever delivered. Our Mutual Friend, 1998. Dead bodies, greedy heirs, and garbage heaps. Welcome to Dickens at his most gleefully twisted. Our Mutual Friend doesn't ease you in with a gentle ball. It starts with a corpse dragged from the Thames and launches into a labyrinthine tale of love, inheritance, and class warfare, set against the filth and frenzy of Victorian London. This adaptation, directed by Julian Farino, is a feast for anyone who likes their period drama more gothic than genteel. Peter Vaughan is unforgettable as Mr. Boffin, the eccentric golden dustman who inherits a fortune and suddenly finds himself a target for every gold digger and social climber in the city. Anna Friel's Bella Wilfer is caught in the crosshairs. Her journey from greedy pragmatism to real feeling is one of the show's secret weapons. And then there's Lizzie Hexam, played with heartbreaking clarity by Keeley Hawes, who's stuck between a cruel world and even crueler men. What really sizzles here is the ensemble. David Morrissey is terrifying as Bradley Headstone, a schoolmaster with obsession written into every glare. The city itself is a character, painted in candlelight and fog, littered with bone collectors and conmen. The pacing snaps along, and every subplot, no matter how eccentric, comes back to the big themes. What does it take to survive in a society that sorts people by money and reputation before they're even out of the womb? There's comedy, there's darkness, and there's that distinctly Dickensian sense that fate is as likely to spit in your eye as it is to lend you a hand. This isn't comfort viewing, it's a wild, grimy ride. But trust me, if you like your drama with teeth, Our Mutual Friend is the BBC's unsung masterpiece. Madame Bovery 2000. Emma Bovery might just be the original anti-heroine. In this lush, bruising BBC miniseries, she's not here to teach you a lesson, she's here to make you squirm. Frances O'Connor takes the title role and runs with it, breathing life into a character that could so easily become a tragic cliché. But this Emma isn't tragic for the sake of it. She's hungry. She wants more romance, more excitement, more color in her suffocating French countryside life. Hugh Bonneville, as her sweet but clueless husband Charles, barely registers Emma's mounting frustration. He's the ultimate nice guy, oblivious to the world's rougher edges, while Emma looks for any escape route, no matter how reckless. Affairs, debt, social humiliation. This adaptation doesn't soften the blows or dress them up with melodrama. It lets the consequences land, hard. What makes this series so haunting is its authenticity. The supporting cast is stacked. Eileen Atkins, Jessica Oyelowo, Hugh Dancy all pop in and out, each adding depth to a world that feels as claustrophobic as it does beautiful. The costumes and sets aren't just eye candy, they're traps, keeping Emma penned in even as she dreams of Paris. Director Tim Fywell keeps the tone tightrope taut, never tipping over into easy sentimentality or cartoon villainy. And the script sticks closer to Flaubert's bleak realism than any Hollywood version ever dared. You don't leave this miniseries feeling uplifted, but you'll definitely feel something twist in your gut. Madame Bovery isn't just about a woman's downfall, it's about the price you pay for wanting what the world says you can't have. Martin Chuzzlewit, 1994. If Dickens ever wrote a roast of human greed and hypocrisy, it's Martin Chuzzlewit, and the BBC adaptation leans all the way in. Forget about noble orphans and kindly benefactors. Here, almost everyone's a schemer, a fraud, or a walking disaster. Paul Schofield leads as the elder Martin, a man with enough money to keep his awful relatives on a tight leash and enough bitterness to enjoy watching them squirm. Ben Walden's young Martin is smug, brash, and in desperate need of a reality check. When he falls in love with Mary Graham, his grandfather's ward, he's promptly disowned and tossed into the world. The twist: it's not the lovers who make this story pulse, it's the villains. Tom Wilkinson's Seth Pecksniff is an all-time great Dickensian snake, oozing fake virtue and scheming with a grin. Keith Allen's Jonas Chuzzlewit, vile, dangerous, and a reminder that not all villains wear capes. The plot pinballs between murder, blackmail, inheritance battles, and wild American adventures that lampoon everything from snake oil salesmen to fake evangelists. But beneath the comedy is a steel-edged satire on what people will do to each other for a shot at an old man's fortune. The entire cast looks like they're having the time of their lives, hamming it up just enough to keep the dark bits palatable. This isn't a gentle stroll through Victorian manners. It's a madcap dash through the mud and the money, hilarious, sharp, and more relevant to modern family feuds than most care to admit. If you want a period drama that leaves a mark, Martin Chuzzlewit is the dark horse you never saw coming. Middlemarch, 1994. Some stories are too big for the silver screen, and Middlemarch is proof. This isn't just a novel of manners. It's a sprawling, painfully honest look at the way dreams get broken in the gears of society. Eliot's characters don't just fall in love and live happily ever after. They crash, burn, and pick up the pieces, all while the small town of Middlemarch watches and gossips. Juliette Aubrey leads as Dorothea Brooke, a woman with a brain and a heart way too big for the life she's been given. She marries the wrong man for the right reasons and spends the series wrestling with ideals, disappointment, and the slow crush of reality. Douglas Hodges' Dr. Lydgate is her male counterpart, a bright doctor with grand ambitions, slowly chewed up by pettiness and scandal. The brilliance of Middlemarch is in the details. Andrew Davies's script doesn't rush, letting every awkward silence and wrong turn land. Side characters like Rufus Sewell's Will Ladislaw and Patrick Malahide's bone-dry banker vibrate with frustration, ambition, and regret. The town is its own character, a web of alliances and vendettas that drags everyone down, no matter how hard they try to climb out. This isn't romanticized history. It's painfully real, a study of how passion, money, and morality tangle into something no one can control. You won't find neat resolutions or easy villains here. Middlemarch is a reminder that sometimes growing up means watching your heroes fail and loving them anyway. Bleak House, 2005. Legal drama, Victorian style, never looked this electrifying. Forget everything you know about Dusty Dickens adaptations. Bleak House is a lightning bolt to the genre's heart. From its kinetic, almost breathless opening, this mini-series grabs you by the collar and refuses to let go. The central case, Jarndyce versus Jarndyce, is a legal maze that's dragged on so long. Generations have been born and died inside its shadow, and that's just the beginning. The cast is almost unfair. Gillian Anderson delivers a chillingly precise Lady Deadlock, a woman whose icy exterior masks secrets that could shatter the entire aristocracy. Charles Dance is the merciless Tulkinghorn, stalking his prey with the patience of a vulture. And then there's Anna Maxwell Martin's Esther Summerson, maybe the quietest, toughest survivor ever to dodge a Dickensian fate. Add in Carey Mulligan, Phil Davis, and a constellation of British talent, and you get a tapestry of intrigue, heartbreak, and brittle hope. And what's revolutionary here isn't just the story, but the storytelling. Adapted by Andrew Davies, Bleak House ditches the usual drawing room pace for a snappy, thriller-like rhythm. The visuals are sharp and moody, the editing relentless. You feel the weight of the endless lawsuits, the suffocating grime of Victorian poverty, and the desperation clinging to every character. Yet amid the bleakness, there's humor, a kind of gallows wit, showing that, even in the darkest places, people will find something to laugh at. This is Dickens for the binge-watch generation, where each episode ends with a gut punch and every subplot actually matters. Awards poured in, but somehow it still slips under the radar when people list best British dramas. Big mistake. Bleak House is proof that the BBC can turn 19th century legal wrangling into must-see, edge-of-your-seat television. Cranford 2007. Don't be fooled by the doilies and teacups. Cranford is a masterclass in subversive period drama. Set in a sleepy English village at the dawn of the railway age, this miniseries turns the everyday into high-stakes theater. Judi Dench anchors an all-star cast as Miss Maddie Jenkins, the gentle but unyielding heart of Cranford, surrounded by a swirling ensemble of spinsters, gossips, and eccentrics who guard tradition like it's their last line of defense. The magic of Cranford isn't just in the witty dialogue or the slow burn plots. It's in the way it finds drama in the smallest moments. A new doctor arrives, a cow loses its tail, the railway threatens to upend everything, and suddenly, the entire village is in uproar. But beneath the charming exteriors lies real fear. The future is coming, and it's got no time for the old ways. There's heartbreak and comedy, births and deaths, betrayals and reconciliations, all in a place where nothing happens on the surface. The cast list reads like a who's who of British acting. Eileen Atkins, Imelda Staunton, Julia Mackenzie, all pitch perfect. The series mines Elizabeth Gaskell's stories for everything they're worth, blending coziness with quiet devastation. At its core, Cranford is about survival, how communities hold on, and how they let go. If you ever thought period drama couldn't be both gentle and razor-sharp, this is the show that'll prove you wrong. Pour yourself a cup of tea and get ready to be blindsided. Emma, 1972. Before modern film adaptations gave us slick, fast-talking heroines, the BBC's 1972 Emma set the gold standard for Austen with bite. Dorrit Godwin steps into the role with a performance that's all wit, charm, and delicious self-delusion. She's not the darling matchmaker Hollywood wants her to be. She's meddlesome, brilliant, and at times, gloriously insufferable. But that's exactly the point. Emma is supposed to get it wrong before she gets it right. Unlike the flashier versions, this 6-part series lets the story breathe. Harriet Smith, played by Debbie Bowen, is more than a sidekick. She's a fully realized young woman swept up in Emma's wild schemes. John Carson's Mr. Knightley doesn't sugarcoat his criticisms, delivering the reality check Emma so desperately needs. The visual style might be pure 1970s BBC, grainy, slightly stagey, but that's part of its charm. The focus stays firmly on the characters, the dialogue, and the gradual, very human process of growth. The real masterstroke here is authenticity. Joan Elliot's costumes don't just look period correct. They tell you everything about class, aspiration, and status without a single word. Every scene feels lived in, not stylized. You watch Emma stumble, interfere, and finally grow up. For viewers sick of Austen adaptations that turn everything into a rom-com, this version offers something tougher and smarter. It's the kind of adaptation that trusts you to spot the irony and isn't afraid to make you squirm a little along the way. Lark Rise to Candleford 2008. Don't let the sun-drenched fields and nostalgic tone fool you. Lark Rise to Candleford is as sharply observed as anything in the BBC's arsenal. Based on Flora Thompson's memoirs, it charts the tug-of-war between old and new through the eyes of Laura Timmins, a young woman caught between her rural roots in Lark Rise and the bustling, forward-looking Candleford. The real beauty here is in the small details. Every character, from the stoic postmistress Dorcas Lane to the mischievous Queenie Turrell, is painted with affection and honesty. The series tackles issues like poverty, class, and the bittersweet march of progress with a light touch that never trivializes real hardship. You'll laugh at village squabbles one minute and find yourself unexpectedly gutted the next. Long-form storytelling is the secret weapon. Over 4 seasons, nothing's rushed. Relationships develop, hearts get broken, and the changing seasons mirror the passage of time. The rural English countryside looks stunning, but never airbrushed. There's dirt under every fingernail and sadness behind every smile. The result is a world that feels real, lived in, and most of all, complicated. Lark Rise to Candleford is the BBC's love letter to a disappearing way of life. It reminds us that nostalgia is only half the story. The rest is struggle, adaptation, and holding tight to the people who matter most. It's not just a pretty period piece. It's a reminder that every quiet village has its own epic saga. Tess of the Derbervilles, 2008. If you're ready for a period drama that doesn't flinch, Tess of the Derbervilles delivers heartbreak in high definition. Thomas Hardy's tragic masterpiece finds its rawest, most honest voice in this BBC adaptation, anchored by a career-making performance from Gemma Arterton as Tess. From the moment she's introduced, a young woman full of hope and courage, you sense the story isn't headed for a fairy tale ending. The camera lingers on the windswept English countryside, making every field and hedgerow part of Tess's fate. Her journey from innocence to suffering is drawn with the kind of patience and emotional clarity most films would kill for. Eddie Redmayne's Angel Clare is Tess's fragile dream, too idealistic, too weak when it matters most. Hans Matheson's Alec is pure menace, always lurking just outside the frame. What's truly remarkable is the adaptation's refusal to soften Hardy's blows. Tess is punished for choices that were never truly hers, trapped by class, expectation, and a world that delights in crushing the vulnerable. The script doesn't overplay the social critique. It lets the story's cruelty speak for itself. The West Country locations aren't just beautiful, they're haunted. Tess of the Derbervilles is not easy viewing, but it's a triumph of honesty over sentiment, a period drama that understands the difference between prettiness and power. Hardy would have approved. The ending doesn't offer comfort, but it lingers long after the credits roll, a mark of truly great storytelling. So, the next time someone tells you British period drama is all teacups and polite small talk, just send them this list. The BBC's archive is a minefield of heartbreak, wit, scandal, and stories sharp enough to draw blood. Which of these miniseries has blindsided you, left you gasping, or maybe made you rethink what a historical drama can actually do? Drop your favorites in the comments and let's turn this into a real debate. Hit subscribe, share with your fellow drama addicts, and keep your eyes peeled because in the world of BBC drama, the real surprises are always waiting where you least expect them.